all for the privilege of sharing my ideas today on creating a world that works for all. And isn't it fantastic that these days young people get integrated with old people into programs? And don't they bring a lot of fresh energy? So the visionary inventor and ecologist Buckminster Fuller asked, what would it take to create a world where 100% of humanity benefited in the least possible time through spontaneous cooperation with ecological damage none and harm to no one? So that's quite a vision, a strategy, and a goal. So what I would argue is if we're already drowning in money, drowning in wealth, just searching for money, we have all the resources already in our hands to create healthy, thriving, environmentally sustainable communities here and around the world. So Jerry Maguire, economists, pretty much the whole world has got a lot of confusion going over money versus wealth. Because when people say they want money, do they really want green pieces of paper? Do they really want big numbers under their name in a computer? They want the stuff, right? And you're going to notice by the end of this 10 minutes, plenty of stuff, lack of money to distribute it. So when I was in high school, I read a book by B.F. Skinner called Walden 2. And in that book, people got together and built a healthy, thriving, environmentally sustainable community using a money called credits in a ledger. And so I asked myself, how could we ever be short of credits in a ledger to get things done? So money versus wealth, money versus credits in a ledger. Money as we know it versus credits in a ledger. So imagine money as a bridge. It connects things, right? On one side of the bridge, there's work to do at every level of skill in our communities. On the other side of the bridge today, despite lots of people getting across the bridge, there's plenty of people at every level of skill who need those jobs. How can it be that money or own invention is all that's missing to match work to do in communities and people who need jobs? Similarly, on one side of the bridge are businesses with plenty of goods and services to sell and distribute. On the other side of the bridge, here and around the world, people who want those very goods and services, lacking only money, purchasing power, numbers and computers, to get those goods and services. It's certainly not about scarcity. Food is an abundant renewable resource, and people are starving to death all over the world. And we already have enough food to feed the world's population if they had money to buy it with. So if aliens came by, not understanding our economic tools and theories, but noticing that our own invention, money, is not doing its job getting people across the bridge, they might actually think there was no intelligent life on this planet, get in their ships and leave. The good news is that many, many big solutions are right under our noses. They're called paradigm shifts, and they're really just a fresh way of looking at things. When we went from the earth is flat to the earth is round, the earth didn't change by one molecule. Perception changed. And yet it opened the door to global travel, global commerce, all kinds of new science. So interestingly, history gives us an idea how to solve this problem. I call it money innovation, and think about it. Technology advances, and so does the design of money. We went from barter to gold coins because of smelting, gold coins to paper currency and checks because of printing, paper currency and checks to credit cards and e-commerce because of computers and the internet. So entrepreneurial business solutions to advance the economy and society. Now, I want to make sure people get that this isn't just about more stuff. And although the environment isn't the focus of my presentation, you're hearing a lot of good people. And what I'm going to point out is we don't need the growth paradigm. Efficiency can replace growth. We have plenty of renewable resources, plenty of renewable energy, and plenty of renewable building materials, and our most renewable resource, human creativity. Don't have to have negative impact from economic advances. Zero waste is coming on strong. Anything that we produce can end up being composted, recycled, taken apart, and reused. And I think we know, it's sort of a cliche, money doesn't buy happiness, but stuff doesn't buy happiness either, right? And so the idea that we create a more sane society, less stress, less chasing money, less economic insecurity, and that leads to more family time, more time for learning, artistic pursuits, spiritual pursuits. How many people wish they had a little bit more time for some things besides chasing money? All right, we'll get to that. So, interestingly, the foundation of our economic theory is scarce resources, but there's plenty of stuff. And why? Because in free enterprise, if somebody's doing well in an industry, and it's not just restaurants, but I'm going to use that as an example, competition comes in, right? As much competition as the situation can bear. So what's the other side of all this competition besides consumer choice and creativity and holding down prices and economic growth? Is downward pressure on market share, downward pressure on prices, downward pressure on profits, downward pressure on wages. And since profits and wages are the way we distribute a piece of the pie, we have this ever-growing wealth with all these advances in technology and in business growth that doesn't end up universally raising the standard of living. We'd all be rich and we'd all be prosperous if, in fact, purchasing power kept up with the growth of the economy. So I started to scratch my head and say, how come economics addresses this situation by reducing productive capacity, right? Downsizing, layoffs, and business failures, rather than raising purchasing power to match available wealth? So there's certainly a wealth purchasing power gap, and it has something to do with the 150-year-old design of money. Money's scarce. It was once gold or paper backed by gold, and now it's nothing but what? Credits and computers backed by debt and taxes. So we need a new approach. Let's call it DC bucks for now, a new kind of money. And imagine pouring all that extra wealth that isn't being sold, that's showing up as excess business capacity, empty restaurant tables, empty airline seats, empty college desks, off hours at the movies, the YMCA, the oil change shop. The wealth that we're drowning in, imagine pooling it under contract with merchants into a business community warehouse. It's partly why this is different from things like Bitcoin, which just floats around out there, gets into circulation, not from the value it creates in society, and then people speculate in it, just like old money. But contracts with merchants for their excess capacity, where merchants are setting the prices, part in cash and part in dual currency dollars. And why dual currency dollars? I learned when I was in the barter industry that you can't use a new money, an alternative currency, too much before it disrupts your cash flow. So part cash, part dual currency dollar transactions work for everybody, and you'll see how in a second. So imagine Sally is underemployed. She spends 25 hours a week helping Friends of the Mississippi River protect the environment for ourselves and for future generations. Then, Friends of the Mississippi River report her hours of work at 20 DC dollars an hour to the dual currency network. They get put in her dual currency account. What does she do? She goes online and she looks to see where she can redeem them. And a restaurant could redeem them for 12 cash and 8 dual currency dollars for a $20 meal. That's a lot like the economics of 2-for-1 dining or senior discounts. And maybe a fitness club, the YWCA, a nonprofit. You know, this is for for-profits, nonprofits, universities with empty college desks, public organizations. A $20 fitness pass for a weekend might be only 6 cash and 14 dual currency dollars, but understand that the club is doing just as well as the restaurant because the cost of off hours at the club is just a hot shower and a towel. So much lower what's called in economics marginal cost of production. So how do you build a dual currency network? Project sponsors could be schools, could be workplaces, community organizations offering to supervise people's work, individuals earning and spending, merchants setting the prices and the rules for redemption on their dual currency things, and payment vendors like credit card companies, e-commerce companies, managing transactions and keeping their piece of the action. So how do you earn in this system? Well, instead of just earning for consumer spending like frequent flyer miles and American Express points, how about new employee incentives, wellness incentives, quit smoking, drop weight, volunteer rewards like I mentioned in the environment, and rewards for young people to stay in school, get better grades, and graduate. Anything we value that adds value to society could easily earn you dual currency dollars. Notice this young crowd, the future belongs to the youth. Everybody wins. Merchants, new customers, individuals stretch their purchasing power, the community, new resources. And I'm running low on time, so I'll just say we've done economic miracles before. We put 17 million people to work over a 2-year period. Why? Because we got inspired that we better get off our butts and cooperate rather than fight over and chase money. And does it have to be that we're building war things? Why can't we be building schools and hospitals and clinics here and around the world? Just imagine young people going overseas like in the Peace Corps, but only en masse, to come back under a new GI Bill for youth that's all about earn and come back to college. We have all of these resources. So I'm going to let that go, but it's a vision of millions of acres of urban agriculture through greenhouses on flat roofs funded by dual currency dollars, entry-level jobs for young people, and no detriment to the environment, right? No transportation, year-round organic food, and service learning projects for young people, and immediate access to abundant resources, no trickle down, an entrepreneurial business community solution, no need for new taxes, no need for new debt. And here's the close, last slide. Paradigms can shift awfully fast, and if we wake up to so for instance, the 3,000-year-old paradigm man will never fly ended in 8 seconds and 120 feet at Kitty Hawk. So if we notice that we're drowning in wealth, and all that wealth could be building healthy, thriving, environmentally sustainable communities here and around the world, we could be thundering into a new era at the pace of mobile apps. So outside-the-box thinkers like yourselves, paradigm shifters, often have had to ask forgiveness because you didn't ask permission. Well, there's a new slogan, comes from Florence Nightingale, proceed until apprehended. Look, let's proceed. Thank you.